Western North Carolina businesses need your financial support now more than ever in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. This month, Darby Communications, based in Asheville, North Carolina, is donating its ad space here on the Rock Fight to help other outdoor businesses in Western North Carolina get back on their feet. The outdoor industry is a major contributor to Western North Carolina's economy, and Darby Communications is asking people to donate to the Outdoor Business Alliance Hurricane Helene Relief Fund, which supports outdoor industry businesses in their recovery and supports their staff as they rebuild in the wake of the storm's devastation. Now is the time to help out the outdoor community, and if you have a few spare bucks, you can help build back what we lost in Western North Carolina. Head to outdoorbusinessalliance.org and click Donate Today to get started.
Rock fight, rock fight, rock fight, rock fight, rock fight, rock fight.
Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin True, and joining me today, he's never been allowed to make a return at REI. It's Justin Hausman!
Do you think we've actually successfully, do we hit the head? We aim for the head. Are we making headshots?
We do get a little silly around here from time to time, so maybe it's a little lower brow than we
below the belt. Maybe, yeah.
We have ideas though. We offer ideas that are head aimed. Don't you think?
Why would I not be allowed to make a return at REI, Colin? What are you insinuating?
I think you're just not the type. I think you were on the list. You were one of the 4,800. It was 4,801. You were the one.
It's like I've had these boots for 25 years. They're just not.
That seems like you. Seems like you.
Well, that's funny because you sewed your own patches onto these into this shirt. I know, but it just doesn't. It just isn't feeling right.
Well, we are going to talk a little bit today about REI's new return policy. But before we get to that, and I don't know if you noticed in the outline, I did switch it up a little bit here, Justin. I hope you're following along.
I did.
Because we're going to, first of all, I want to ask our listeners if you would please follow and rate The Rock Fight wherever you're listening on any podcast app. We're having a pretty good follower month, but we could always use more. Please, if you're not following, just click follow. And then
we don't want to come over there. We don't.
You don't want us to show up and these two. Why are these two weird, gangly white guys standing on my doorstep?
Dads with big time coming. I will fucking come over their energy. You don't want that.
So leave a 5-star rating, write a review, all that stuff. And also, folks, I have to ask, are you subscribed to Rock Fight's newsletter? Because if you are, I screwed up my own copy. If you like the top-notch content you get here on the Rock Fight, our weekly newsletter, News from the Front, has the same kind of content and that you can't get anywhere else. We only put it in the newsletter. So head to rockfight.co, click join the mailing list. And Justin, I hear that you are now also a podcast host. Is that true?
Yeah, I was initiated into the podcast clan cult network.
Have you been able to sit since then, or
a lot more? Well, yeah, I am now, but I have to use one of those donuts, and there was just a lot more like blood than I expected in the initiation rites.
It's why a lot of pies don't last,
Yeah, and I'm just hoping that the branding, like the actual brand, the pig iron brand I got on my chest, starts. That hurts, man. That hurts. But yeah, I'm running the show over at Gear and Beer now. So that podcast. Come on, folks. If you're listening to Rock Fight, you definitely know Gear and Beer. Where what do we do? We rate gear. We rate beer. Mostly drink beer while talking about gear. But it says here in an entirely listener-driven show. It really is. Yeah, I mean, it's like what do you want to know about gear? What do you want to know about beer? You got a couple of experts right here. A couple of fine fellows that are just like you.
Who just verbally threatened you a few seconds ago?
Well, sure, they would threaten us, don't you think?
Maybe.
Yeah, if you were running a podcast empire and you thought there were people listening without following, you would be pissed off too.
I would be.
Not that we're pissed. But anyway, yeah. I mean, it's like a couple of guys who love beer and they love gear. Like, who wouldn't want to? And not just guys, women. That felt awkward saying that right then. Maybe that felt weird. A couple of folks, just fine folks who love suds and beer or suds and gear.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm tripping over my own words, but listen to and follow and rate Gear and Beer, please. Okay. And then you can email all of your feedback to us right there at myrockfight@gmail.com. We are getting more and more of your letters every day, which is fantastic. We really get a good little thrill from those. Occasionally some heartfelt laughter.
And if you want to inspire an episode of Gear and Beer, that's where to send your email. Until we get a Gear and Beer emaal address set up, which I need to do.
That's true. That's complicated. We don't know how to do that. If there's anybody out there who knows how to set up an email address, please let us know. We are old. Just kidding.
Well, Wednesdays are typically, more adventure focused, not as much industry focused, but some two pieces of news came out over the past 24 hours that we really want to address. I'm glad Justin is here to help me with this because first up, breaking news out of Grassroots Outdoor Alliance Connect. So the Grassroots Outdoor Alliance Connect is being held this week in Kansas City. It's a twice annual trade show that brings together the best specialty outdoor retail shops in the country and is attended by the most notable outdoor brands who value the opportunity to interact with their key wholesale partners that aren't made up by the letters R, E, or I. And we do have some breaking news out of that off that show floor. What's the cutoff for people who understand what that noise is? Like what age?
19, like when were you born?
Yeah, is it
Anyone
like under
born,
35? Over 35? Would a 39-year-old get that?
I bet you 30-year-olds would get that.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. But so I've heard from a couple of people over the last couple of days from so a few different sources reporting this into Rockfight HQ. Apparently Yeti is intending to sunset Mystery Ranch after 2025. They're going to retain Mystery Ranch's military business. This is a pretty big deal. I mean, Yeti acquired Mystery Ranch, which is a backpack brand known for its super durable and load-bearing backpacks at the beginning of this year. I think they closed on it either January or February, so not that long ago. It was disclosed in the spring that they bought the brand for $36 million. This move comes on the heels last week. I noticed this. We didn't talk about it here in the Rock Fight, but I definitely noticed it in the Daily that Yeti is launching a Mystery Ranch-inspired set of bags next year.
What kind of bags did the article show them? Are they like backpacks or just like tote bags or? It
just said inspired bags. As I looked at that too, it didn't say backpacks. It just said they're using what they're learning from Mystery Ranch to put into some new products. Not a lot more to report than that. I'm sure we'll learn more in the coming days and weeks. But we just kind of want to provide our instant reaction to this news. Justin, what did you think hearing about 8 months later, 10 months later, Mystery Ranch going bye-bye?
Well, two things. One, congratulations to us for breaking more news.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, that's pretty cool. I would like to go back and listen to our show when we talked about this because I would be blown away if we didn't all. I mean, I'm sure we both said, well, they're probably going to just start making Yeti packs, right? Like,
yes,
I'm sure we said
it'd be
that.
weird if we didn't.
Yeah, it would be bad. It would be bad if we hadn't.
What do you think they're going to do?
Yeah, wow, man. But also, I guarantee. Well, I don't guarantee. I'm thinking back and I'm kind of remembering what execs from Yeti being like, we don't intend on changing anything. I've talked to people that work for Mystery Ranch since then, and they're like, yeah, they're great. We're we're definitely associated more with Yeti. I remember talking to reps at Outdoor Media Summit. We're definitely associated more with Yeti. But yeah, we're doing our own thing and everything seems well. Well, it's like, well, obviously this was the plan. This was obviously the plan. You don't engage in something a purchase this large without. It's not like they got surprised by the numbers a year into it. This was the plan the whole time. Which, just be honest, just be upfront. I mean, the thing that this is one of those things where I don't know. My first thought when I read these sorts of things is I really fucking hate capitalism sometimes. I mean, more often than not.
Yeah.
Where it's I get all the obviously it's complicated, but it's people care about these sorts of things. People. And I realize that we don't own it. None of us own the brands that we buy. I'm totally aware of that. But people really care. Mystery Ranch is a small niche brand that has if you have Mystery Ranch, Mystery Ranch. You love Mystery Ranch.
They're still at that stage, where
they're
they're important
history.
to people. Yeah.
That Dana Gleason, was that's where it came from. You get all all that stuff, and there's not really anything else out there like it. So I presume, Yeti is obviously huge in the hunting industry. I can only imagine that they're going to just make the same packs with Yeti branding. Because if they don't, now there's a giant void in the hunting pack industry. It's a bummer. I hate to say it because but it's a bummer. I mean, they could do what they want. They own it. But I don't know. I guess it just sucks that everything is so transactional in our world. It's oh, that's cool that millions or I don't know, maybe that's being exaggerated. Tens of thousands of people really cared about this thing, but no, we own it. We want to make more money, so it's gone.
Yeah,
it's just I hate to see it, but I understand that's how the world works. If somebody wants to buy Rockfight and change it to flowers.com, that's fine with me. With the price is right, so I can't.
I mean, it's kind of that we're all for sale, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's your point of they must have noticed from the get-go. I imagine that's the case. Clearly, it was the military business that was they were most attracted to. And again, there are no details on this. I'm truly just hearing from people who are on the show floor, so from multiple people who've texted and said, this is what I was told by Yeti. So take it, assume with a little bit of a grain of salt as more details come out. But it kind of makes sense. Like, okay, there's a military business. It's probably having worked in the military business during my time at Polar Tech, it's a lucrative business. It's, there's high upside.
Yeah.
And now,
you could say it is. You could say it is.
And so now, it's like, well, you're right about they'll probably make Yeti backpacks that are kind of like Mystery Ranch packs, but how long before those get decontented down the line?
Yeah. Like you got to wonder, will there be like, Yeti, like Mystery Ranch by Yeti? Like, is that what's kind of, like
that's probably the best
happen?
case scenario, but I wouldn't imagine. I mean, because it's such a small, 36 million. I mean, so they're not worth 30. They were probably not doing that in sales. Usually you get a multiple when you acquire something. So it's probably still pretty small brand that people only like you or I really know about.
For sure. I would imagine that even your average person who's fairly dedicated to being outside might not know Mystery Ranch.
Right.
Like if they don't work in the industry, which is true.
Yeah.
And it's not like Mystery Ranch was bought by like Coleman or something where like the fit is a little bit weird. I mean, Yeti and hunting are like pretty close bedfellows, and so and to me, I mean, Mystery Ranch is it will always have been a hunting brand. Like that to me. I realize that they made packs for everybody. I have a Mystery Ranch backpack; it's great. But to me, Mystery Ranch was catering toward the hunting, almost tactically sort of community. So like it makes all the sense of the world.
Well, we'll keep an eye on. I mean, I'm sure we're going to learn a lot more in the coming weeks and months as this kind of, as this gets a little bit more broadly communicated. We hear from more people. Like I said, have not had a chance to even talk to anyone. It's been just mostly over text message, but multiple people have confirmed this with me. So, we'll keep an eye on it and we'll come back to it. All the breaking coverage from the outdoor industry is where you can find it right here.
You know where to find it.
Yeah. Well, we had another piece of breaking news kind of while we're actually recording this. So REI has announced this morning on November 12th when we're recording this that they have hired a new head of marketing. It's in the Wall Street Journal. REI hired Abigail Jacobs as their chief marketing officer. Jacobs most recently was the VP of marketing and brand for Sephora, the cosmetics brand. And she previously spent time at Williams-Sonoma. She's based in San Francisco and will be leading REI's marketing team from there. Again, this is pretty much breaking news today, so just really our instant reactions here. I mean, I don't really typically like to comment too much on specific hires because it's like, well, let's see how a person does. But my initial reaction, the one reason why I think we wanted to talk about it is just another person joining the senior team at REI from outside of the industry into a position where I think some of the challenges REI has been having lately has been around messaging, and now here comes a person from outside of the industry who's going to have to take over that part of their brand.
It seems crucial.
Yes.
Like it seems like this is something that you can't get wrong.
And by the way, this next thing is not doesn't mean she can't be successful, but staying in San Francisco with a team in Seattle at a challenging position, not a fan of that either. I just, think there's a lot of times when that doesn't work out. I mean, that might be a coin flip kind of thing. But that's just my kind of off the dome reaction to this. I would have liked to have seen someone from more who really understands our space. But what do you think, Justin?
My thought is like, I don't know this woman. For all I know, she's a fucking badass
She's
outdoors
welcome
person.
to come on the
Loves
show.
REI. Like I have no idea. I don't like have any negative thoughts about Sephora or West Elm, or I forget what the other brand she'd been with. Williams-Sonoma. Excellent kitchen stuff. Don't get me wrong. Love me some Williams-Sonoma. And like marketing is marketing to a certain degree, right? Like there's, I get all that. It just, what I can't help but do, and this is coming from someone who's like singular joy in life is walking into a small town or any town. Could be, I actually prefer it wasn't a small town. I prefer it was a giant city, and every shop is independent, and every shop has its own culture, and every shop has its own story. Yeah. I mean, that means a huge amount to me, especially when it comes to things like enthusiast pursuits like the outdoors.
Right.
I love REI. We love REI. I want REI to succeed because I love it as a place. I love it. I like to go into the store. I love that there is, they're fun to be in, or at least they have been. I don't know how much that's going to change. Like it makes me feel like going outdoors. I would rather that most towns had an independent outdoor shop as opposed to an REI. But I guess it doesn't even seem. It just says, okay, what all we care about is growth. And like this person's provided growth before, that's all that matters. That's it.
Yeah,
that's all it says to me.
Yeah, we don't know Abigail Jacobs. She's welcome to come on the show. We'd love to have her on the show.
We're going to try to get her on.
Yeah,
we'll try to get her on the show.
It's great. I think when you kind of compare kind of a lot of things you're saying with, the fact that a lot of the other senior roles at REI are now filled by people from like Amazon or Target or Walmart, or I might be getting a couple of those wrong, but it's a lot of big box retailer. And this is one where on the marketing side, where it's been proven time and time again that authenticity in the outdoors is incredibly important. And was. Yeah. Well, I still think it is. I think that's why you see like, we recently were in a specialty shop in Missoula, Montana. And that's the kind of store where you're like, if that store was in my town, I'd be there 3 days a week just to hang out.
Everybody said that. Yep. Everybody wanted to be in that store.
That's the outdoor retail experience that we all have. And now you're never going to get quite exactly that at an REI, but you could probably get pretty close. And on the messaging side, it kind of plays right into the next story about REI, because this is one that I had on the outline well before these kind of breaking news stories. There was an article this past week in Gear Patrol that, REI is changing their return policy. That's what we were joking about at the top of the show. So the basic return policy that REI has had since 2013 is that co-op members have 365 days to make returns and non-members have 90 days to make returns. But as of November 6th, as many as 4,800 co-op members have been banned from ever making a return due to what REI has described as abusing their return policy. And kind of to play it into the messaging side of it is, it's not like, I'm sure someone at REI right now could show me a spreadsheet and say, here are the millions of dollars we're losing annually on returns. But I just like, is this the time? When was the last time I read a positive story about REI? And I know obviously hiring a new CMO is probably being positioned as a positive story, but it's been a lot of union busting and not a lot of like good times, I feel like, at REI. And now here, if you go look on Reddit, man, there's some people who are pissed off. There's some people on there saying that they were banned and they've spent a lot of money there in recent years and haven't made any returns. So it just kind of opens that can of worms to criticism, like the conversations that you and I are having right now.
I am not a business person other than, obviously like what we're trying to do at Rockfight, I guess counts, but like, and I guess I technically am self-employed. So I guess I kind of am.
You're a business person.
And the way I look at it is, I get that REI, like I posted something on LinkedIn twice today, actually. I posted about this. First was just kind of what the fuck? And someone commented like, well, Sephora's really successful and REI has been losing money. So like,
good point.
This is why, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I get that. And I came at it from another angle and was more like, okay, I totally understand that. I'm not criticizing, again, the person or the other companies they work for. But it's like, if what happens is you start to sort of stumble for whatever reason, and your instinct is to like kind of cut out the things that made you what you were, then what are we left with? Mm-hmm. And that's my question, right? Like if everybody who's calling the shots at REI is coming from outside our space, what does that mean about what REI is now and where it's going?
Right.
And that's it.
Right.
I actually think that these return policy things are hilarious. I remember when LL Bean stopped their lifetime return policy, and it's like, I think that a lifetime return policy makes a lot of sense 40 years ago or 50 years ago, when the world was a wildly different place and the internet didn't exist. Right?
No one would ever return this for nefarious purposes.
Right. And like you bought it and you traveled away and like, when am I going to be in Maine again? Right. Like I'm not going to like that made a lot of sense back then, but obviously it doesn't now.
Right.
And like, I would love to see the list of the people that were banned and why. I think that would be such a fun story to write. Like maybe I'll try. I'm sure they wouldn't let me, but that'd be like a wonderful New Yorker piece, right? Here's the people that were banned from the REI returns and here's why. Like that would be amazing.
I would love that. Please write that. I want to read that article so badly.
Yeah, that would be super fun because there's some absolutely truly hilarious shit. Like someone returned a pair of boots and there was like a frog in it or whatever. I don't know. Like there's got to be some great stuff.
And then the people who really why they're making the policy change, like, okay, this is like a clear abuse. Like what was that person doing?
Right. And I guess if I was in charge of marketing with REI, again, like the thing that annoys me is like it's not like this person is coming in from some company that has a really like Liquid Death. Somewhere that has like a really interesting marketing strategy. Yeah. It's like you're coming from a pretty vanilla series of companies that all have the same kiss-ass sort of marketing strategy. Like, let's get somebody in here who's like, hey, we're banning no more returns, fuckers. You fucked it up. And like make some funny shit about it, right? Like that would instantly like endear me to REI again, right? Like also, I'm coming from a place where I worked for the most beloved media institution in the history of a thing, Surfer Magazine, right? Mm-hmm. That's like Thrasher level of like something that is deep and meaningful to people, right? Like I don't think there's anything like that in the outdoor space really. I mean, I don't know, Mountain Gazette, I guess. I don't know. Something's been around for like decades. Field and Stream is probably the closest thing.
Right.
And this happened in Field and Stream too. And like you get people that don't have any idea what surfing is. Oh, I know all about executive shit. And they come in and it's like,
Yes, you've
what
seen
do they do? They trim content, they trim staff, they trim budget, they trim all the sort of shit, and then it's gone.
Yep.
Right? Because they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know who they were talking to. So I've been there.
Yeah.
And like, and nobody comes out better for it other than like a few C-suite folks somewhere living on fucking Elysium orbiting the Earth, you know?
I mean, that's kind of what we're getting at, I think, with all this. I mean, I like, again, the reason I want to talk about the return policy before is it just seems like an unforced error. Like, it might be a good reason to do it. I don't know why you do it now, or maybe you do it quietly, or maybe they know they're in a bad PR cycle, so they're just ripping the Band-Aid off too, which I kind of would respect it if that's the case.
Yeah.
On the CMO hire, like, again, I feel kind of bad. I don't want to, like, I'm not prematurely judging someone. It just seems like I was really hoping when I clicked on that link that it would say like came from like, you know, brands X, Y, and Z, and this is why it's going to make sense for like the, you know, the outdoor consumer and what REI is going to do and the messaging around it, and you know, and so it was like, okay, well, it's not that, so let's see how this shakes out, I suppose.
Or we hired Sophia Hernandez, who's the GM of our best performing store. Right?
Yeah,
like she
right. Internal hire,
knows.
someone who's been here for 20 years. Right.
Never worked in marketing, but she knows why people come in the door. She knows them. I mean, I worked at a Barnes & Noble, and like right? Like I worked at Barnes & Noble for like 5 years, and like when the managers changed, everything about it changed. Like and it was like there were managers that knew every book in that store, and they knew every customer in that store, and it was fun to work there. It was fun to be there. And then we get a new manager in, and it was like, well, we got to make sure we're hitting our numbers. And then like the vibe was off within seconds, you know. And it's like, well,
you think
that sucks.
You think Abigail Jacobs might call you next? She found out that you worked at Barnes & Noble for 5 years. Kind of get your opinion on things, you know?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Justin, you know, I'm not really sure what to do. I heard you worked at Barnes & Noble for 5 years.
Yeah, more books in the REI. I mean, honestly, that I would love. Like when I go to REI now, I usually head right to the book section. I want to be like, what's going on?
That was always my favorite part of any outdoor store.
You know?
I love the book section.
Yeah, and it's like gets smaller and smaller and smaller. It's like, well, I can get this other shit anywhere, you know.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll get into some other more fun headlines. If there's one thing that unites every member of the outdoor and active community, it's that no matter what your favorite outdoor activity is, we all burn calories, we all need fuel. That's where Fuel Goods comes in. Fuel Goods is the ultimate curator of nutrition for active people everywhere, because no one knows more about how you should fuel your adventures or how to get that fuel in your hands than they do. And right now is prime time for fueling. Over the next month, we have turkey trots, Santa runs, and frosty 5Ks, along with the temptation to refuel using all of those desserts and holiday staples that will no doubt be in your home for the remainder of the year. Stop the madness! Fuel Goods has done the hard work of assembling a delicious and effective assortment of products to help you fuel your next event or adventure. And if you're overwhelmed, you can order up one of their pre-assorted boxes like the famous Rider Box or the one that started it all, the Runner Box. And when you're done shopping for yourself, order a Fuel Goods monthly subscription as the perfect holiday gift for that calorie-deprived adventurer in your life. Look, I'm hungry. Aren't you hungry? Head to fuelgoods.com and start shopping today. All right, a couple more headlines to go through here. So, for many, Ernest Shackleton's 1914 Antarctic expedition aboard the ship, the Endurance, has become a story to obsess over. I think there's lots of content that's been produced over the years, and according to Explorers Web, this week there's a new documentary that has debuted that the team has captured and spent weeks filming the wreckage of the Endurance, which lies 3,000 meters down at the bottom of the ocean. The team has also released a high-res 3D scan of the wreckage that made up of 25,000 images that shows the ship in incredible detail. I brought this one up because I'm like, what is it about shipwrecks? Because I get sucked into this stuff. I have no interest in boats, like big boats, like aside from like sea kayaks or something like that. But if I have found myself in Titanic YouTube rabbit holes where they're like, here's the timeline. It's a 2.5 hour timeline. And I'm like zipping along, like watching the Titanic's, you know, the animation of it sinking. And I don't know what it is, but this immediately, like I couldn't click on it fast enough. What is it about a shipwreck?
Is it that you are hoping that in the background, like you get a glimpse of the alien like city or whatever in the abyss?
Right. This is actually, oh no, there's Atlantis. It's right there.
Do you remember The Abyss?
Yeah, great movie.
Isn't there a director's cut where they find like a city or something?
Yes. Well, doesn't that happen at the end? Well, the ship takes off at the end or something like that, right?
There's a oh, you know what? The director's cut is there's like some sort of tidal wave that they prevent.
They
like
wash
the
up on shore or something.
Or I think they prevent a tidal wave from destroying a city. I think they there's like
really?
a tidal wave coming,
know
and they
that.
fuck. I could be getting. I need to watch that again.
Wait, but you don't get into shipwrecks? Like this is you don't
No,
have that at
I
all?
understand why though, because
Why?
it's like, well, it's a time capsule, right? Like it's there. It's like you can. Feel, it's like they just left. And I mean, the bottom of the ocean is easily the weirdest place in the universe. I mean, like I feel like I would if you were to somehow drop me in like the void of fucking space between like here and like Alpha Centauri, I'd be like, yeah, I get this. If you drop me down to like 3,000 meters below the surface of the fucking ocean,
Yeah.
I would even if I'm in something that's going to keep me alive, I would instantly die of just like total
Your,
freak out.
your
Like
brain would just explode in your
just
head.
like what the fuck? Like it makes no sense to me. So the fact that like this ship is just chilling down there is totally bizarre. Also, anything Shackleton related, I feel like with the Voyager probe out there, just merrily on its way toward probably humanity's doom eventually, if we're being honest. Just out there being like, hey, look at us idiots, kill us, come find us and kill us, right? Like if it could somehow tell the story of like Shackleton, that would be so much cooler than what's on the Voyager probe now. I mean, the fact that none of these people died during the Shackleton
That's amazing.
like thing is still to me the most incredible thing. Like when all is said and done, and we're closing the book on humanity. That's how I would lead it.
So-
that would be the intro to the book.
So is that ultimately what this is? Because they're ultimately human stories, right? And you hear about the Titanic, you hear about this, and it's like the people who lived and what happened to them as they went through it, and blah blah blah. And then here's the evidence of it at the bottom
sure.
of the ocean, right? That's really what it is.
Yeah. I mean, if you like, I don't know of a famous example, but I mean, if there was like a World War II bomber or something, like the Memphis Belle, I guess would be an example, or something where it was like it came back from like beyond unbelievable odds.
Yeah.
And here it is, full of bullet holes and shrapnel holes.
Well, it's
and
like when you
can go
tore
walk
Pearl
in there
Harbor,
and be like,
right?
whoa, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it feels alive there.
Yeah.
It feels alive for that minute. I think that's part of it, and I think the fact that anything on the bottom of the ocean is inherently the most fascinating thing that could possibly be. I mean, it's just absolutely nuts to me that we live on a world with oceans that deep. It's so cool.
Yeah, there is a documentary about this group that did on the that studied the endurance. So I think it's on National Geographic, which means it's probably either on YouTube or Disney Plus. I'm definitely want to check it out. So
Do you have any? I have an interest in shipwrecks that are like 12 feet below the surface. Like
yes,
that is
that's the idea of you
I
could
don't
like just
care
like
about that.
snorkel down and like check it out. Like that's dope. I want to go do that.
You like that? See, I don't really care. Like, I actually surfed a couple days ago at this reef break. I haven't surfed in 20 years down in my hometown. There never used to be a shipwreck there. Now there is. It'll always be there. No one's ever going to move it. It's just on the rocks in front of the break. And I remember like going, huh. And just keep like I don't care.
Dude,
it's
that's cool.
like that ship's only like 20 years old. It's just a boat. It's just like a fucking wrecked car somewhere. Like it's not that. I mean, the fact that it's the endurance is what's interesting to me.
That is true. However, there's definitely up on the little mountain I climb up, I talk about all the time. There's a couple of wrecked cars on the side of the mountain, and I was
Really?
like
Yeah.
walking by them and like kind of looking inside. Like,
Well, if it's
what's going
old
on?
enough, it'll be
Yeah.
interesting. If
Yeah,
it's like
right.
a Model A, you're like, whoa, somebody got drunk and drove off of this cliff 100
Basically.
years ago.
Well, keeping it ocean themed, according to a Justin Hausman on the website The Cool Down this week,
That guy sounds handsome, doesn't he? That name.
thousands of whales apparently are fatally struck by ships, but now every year. But now there is some new technology to help reduce the number of those collisions. I guess there's only one Justin Hausman. I thought there might be two of them, but apparently not. Apparently it's you. Tell us
Yeah,
more
it's me.
about this. This was a really interesting article.
Well, how weird. I mean, I guess it's not that. I guess it makes all the sense in the world, but like I had no idea how many fucking like whales were killed by ships every year. It's absurd.
Do you know the number?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but it is in the thousands. And like,
If you told me there was like 2,000 whales in the world, I'd be like, yeah, that's probably about right.
right? Yeah. Well, totally. I mean, like, I think the figure also includes like dolphins, right? Like, but still.
Okay, still.
But it's just like, is there a more like gnarly example of like humanity's just absolute fuck you to the earth than like
Yeah, this is bad.
our ships filled with, let's be honest, Sephora and West Elm
Yep.
bullshit, just like
just
churning
taking out
along from
whales.
China. Oh, look, here's a blue whale. Just like right through that son of a bitch. I mean, it's like, good Lord, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But so the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute out there in Massachusetts, I believe.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. You would think they would have figured this out a long time ago, but basically they've figured out how to put these like infrared cameras on the front of these ships, or I don't know if it's on the front, somewhere on the ship, and it looks out to where they're going, and of course it uses AI to like basically scan the ocean, and and like the AI is trained, right? Like that's a normal wave, that's not, and whatever, and it can immediately detect whether or not the disturbance it might be seeing on or right below the water is from a whale or an animal, right? And so like if a whale comes up and like it spouts its blowhole, or even its back just crests the surface, or even if it gets like close enough to the surface where it disturbs the surface a little bit, these cameras can detect it and immediately identify this is a whale. Now, of course, the one thing I didn't talk about in the piece, it's up to the captain to like do anything about it, right? I mean, like, you got to think there's somebody on one of these giant Maersk liners. It's like, well, it's going to cost us $1,000, and it probably does.
Yeah.
To like turn to starboard for like 1 degree, you know, and like now we're going to be an hour late. So like I don't know, you know, but apparently, what is it, Marston? I think it's Marston, which is based in like Hawaii. It's like a big shipping line. Has already started using it for a few months, and it's like they've detected like I think it was 1,100 whales and dolphins in their path over 3 months, and they did maneuver around them, which is cool. Yeah. So I mean, it's like it's about goddamn time that we do this kind of thing, but and the worst parts are, of course, like in the triangle. It seems like the worst parts are in the triangle from like California to Hawaii to maybe it's like Seattle or something, where it's just like the migratory path of like virtually every important whale that isn't the right whale. The right whale lives in the North Atlantic, and it's just getting hosed. So like blue whales and humpbacks, and like I think it was like 16 endangered whales all use this migratory route. And it's like our biggest containers are going from China to like the West Coast, just back and forth, just annihilating whales as they go. It's brutal, and it's something that I never given any thought to until I started putting that story together. But hopefully this will make a difference. You know, I mean, I don't really. I do think that there are probably going to be some UN, maybe some kind of like restrictions where you have to start using this sort of stuff.
Sure, right.
Because otherwise you got to wonder, like, what do they care? Like,
I heard under Trump they're going to mount bazookas to the front of the boats instead.
Yeah, they're actually going to. They're going to. Yeah, that's true. Actually, the part of the new the new Whale Destruction Act, they're going to have like things that create whale songs on the front of these boats to attract them from everywhere, so they can just annihilate them on the way, just for the hell of it.
All right, let's take one more quick break, and then we'll come back with our parting shots. Rock Fighters, it's November, which is bad news if you're a turkey. But if you're a retail buyer, it may be the best month of the year because you're laying plans to crush it on your shop floor in 2025, and I have a tip for you. Royal Robins. That's right, Royal Robins. And if you're like, really? Yeah, really. Royal Robins seems to be gaining traction in a really interesting way. They're one of the true OGs of outdoor brands, part of that early group of California climbers who kicked off the modern era of the outdoor industry, right alongside Tompkins and Chenard of the North Face and Patagonia. So if anyone can step up, they can. I spoke with the Royals brand president, Eric Burbank, and they're making moves and planning routes, focus on natural fibers, tight merchandising, and a range that knows what it stands for. All the stuff that Royal himself would be down with too, I bet. Eric will be coming on the Rock Fight next month so we can dig more into Royal's comeback story. And I'll tell you, I've been wearing one of their new wool hoodies, guys, and it feels pretty damn good. So this November, don't be a turkey. Check out Royal Robins. And next November, you'll be thanking yourself. All right, man. Time for the parting shot.
I went first last time.
Do I go first? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So as of this recording, Sunny Strower is back on the Arizona Trail attempting to set a women's FKT. I say back because she actually had a broken pole right as she had started her attempt a few days ago and decided to go back, fix it, and then start again instead of running, doing her whole thing with a broken pole. Anyway, I interviewed Sunny last week, and you're going to hear that interview in a couple of weeks here on the Rock Fight, hopefully after we know if she's finished her FKT attempt and if she got it or not. But anyway, part of this of Sunny's attempt includes a fundraiser for the Cairn Project, which is working to change the narrative around gender equity in the outdoors, which she posted on Facebook to promote. And then almost immediately got 4 misogynistic comments from men on her post. One example being, and this was actually one of the nicer ones, quote, gender equity in the outdoors translates to we hate men. So let's do anything we can to be a man, among several others. Now, I don't know why I still find these types of posts shocking. It's not that I don't acknowledge that this hateful rhetoric exists, but I also wonder what the intended outcome was supposed to be to posting something like this. Like, are you hoping the original poster or someone's going to read it and then come around to your way of thinking? Also, why would I ever try to be something I hate? It's just as confusing as it is reprehensible. But enough about all that bullshit. As of this morning, I checked it before I was writing the outline for this, and before Justin and I got on the call, Sunny's on track to her goal. She's going north to south, so it'll get warmer as she goes. And now that the election is behind us, I don't feel bad asking anyone listening to this to support her and head to the the link that I put in the show notes to support the Karen Project and to work to create a more equitable outdoors for women. So my parting shot, I guess, is at you, the listeners, to support Sunny, and also to the douchebags who are commenting on Sunny's post that they can just go fuck right off.
Stop being assholes.
Yeah, what the hell, man?
I feel like lots of our parting shots are stop being assholes. Just stop being an asshole in general.
And now it's time for the Stop Being Assholes part of the show.
Speaking of which, all right. So according to an article on Outside Online, a couple of rookie hikers attempting California's Mount Whitney, as you obviously know is the tallest peak in the lower 48, as a day hike had to be rescued after their combined kit weight of 150 pounds plus 5 gallons of water, which adds an additional 42 pounds, making the per-person kit roughly 96 pounds slowed them down. Now, we don't, of course, know how that was distributed. Maybe one person had 100 pounds and the other person had whatever the remainder is. I'm not very good at math.
Is that better?
Anyway, yeah. The inexperienced duo made it about 2.5 miles, roughly, over about 9 hours, which makes sense with all that weight, and set up camp only to wake up to find snow had filled up their shoes, which apparently they left outside of their shelter, which I get. Sort of. So they called for help with their iPhone's SOS feature, little nod of the cap to Apple, like well done there. Now we're not. I don't want to chastise this duo. If I want to chastise anybody, it's the people that are going to immediately come out of the woodwork to call these people morons, idiots, whatever for trying something that they obviously weren't prepared for. First of all, we don't know anything about them, right? Like, they may have been like wildly prepared. Maybe they had like 100 pounds of camera gear.
Maybe they're just really challenging themselves.
Yeah, right. Like maybe they're rucking or whatever it's called. Like I don't know. Right. The article didn't include any comments from the hikers, but they probably were just trying something ambitious, and they both learned something and are no worse for the wear theoretically. Although they may have had some injuries,
or they may have to they might get a bill from Search and Rescue. That might be the
well. Yeah, that's the only downside. But what immediately I thought of was the first time I went backpacking with my wife. I'd already been backpacking like a fair bit, but like she really hadn't. And I kind of knew where we were going. I knew it was a relatively short hike. We took a shitload of stuff because I wanted to, and I knew I could carry it. And we both had, and for reasons that aren't worth getting into, we each had a gallon of water, like that we bought at the store that we were just holding as we walked. And I'll never forget this woman that passed us was like, "That is not the way to backpack." There's better ways to carry that water, but I'll never forget. That is not the way to backpack.
Did you bury her body like 200 yards from the trail?
Yeah, she's at the bottom of a lake that we camped next to. But it was like, I just can't imagine having that impulse, right? Like, lady, we had an amazing time. And guess what? That was the beginning of my wife and I's like decade-long relationship with backpacking together.
Yeah,
right? Like we went out and bought better packs. We went out and bought lighter stuff, all this sort of stuff. And like, we had an amazing time. Yeah, in retrospect, my arm hurt after carrying that in all the way, but it was fine. Now we didn't need to call for SOS. That's a different story. But the point of the story is like, you don't know, and just shut up. Like just let them, unless they were littering or doing something like terrible, like who gives a shit? We all started somewhere.
Yep.
And like, if it made sense for them to have, like, who doesn't want to see the top of Whitney, right? Like, maybe they weren't going to the top. We don't know. But like, we all started somewhere, and like, maybe it made a lot of sense for them to carry everything that made them feel safe. I don't have any idea, and this is also, we're just assuming that there's going to be people coming out of the woodwork to criticize this crew. Cause you know what? My first instinct was to criticize.
Yeah,
them.
me too.
So my parting shot is kind of at myself.
Yeah.
And, it's just like, just let people go outside. This is like what we're learning now, right? Like in these last like few years with like more people outdoors, we all have different experiences. We all have different wants and needs out there. Just let them do it.
You know how many times this has probably happened? Or like just now we have like, Outside Online or other people to report on it. You know what I mean? Like
right.
how many times somebody has been out there on a backpacking trip and been like, that didn't work.
And that's just a churning news cycle. Like, why is this even news?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly because I had the exact same reaction when I saw that story. I was like, "Oh my god!" Then I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. It says they're rookie. Like they're just trying something." One of the, I don't know, but I could just picture like, "Hey man, you want to get to the top of Whitney? Yeah, all right. What do we need? I don't know. Let's go get stuff."
Maybe they were 18.
Exactly.
I was just driving the other day home from the Central Coast, and I passed a spot where I remembered me and a buddy once were like, let's go drive to Cambria and hike from Cambria to Cayucas, which I think is like 12 miles. I can't remember. There's no paths. We're just going to do it on the beach. Just going to
walk?
Yeah. And we had, I think I brought some chips, a beer, and like a joint. That was like what I had. No phones.
Perfect kit.
We had no idea how we were going to get. Like we just assumed that the beach connected all the way. Of course it doesn't. There's like horrifying cliffs. At one point we had to like, the tide was coming in and we were like stoned and had to like crawl up, like literally grabbing poison oak to pull ourselves up this cliff as the waves were like smashing below us. And we had to like like trespass over this like ranch and like literally run away from a bull that was like coming after us. We finally got to the highway. We made it back to town. We each ate an entire large pizza. All of this is true. I will never forget any of this. And like got back in the one car and went up to pick the other one up. And it's like we had no planning. We didn't know what we were doing. I was 18.
You have never had an adventure like that. That is
no. It was really fun.
And you'll never have another one like that.
I'll never do that again.
Nope.
You know, I learned all that sort of stuff. So anyway, you know, yeah, just to my own self, stop. Just go easy on folks. Go easy on the newcomers.
Love it. All right, man. We can wrap it up there.
I don't want to. I want to keep talking about that.
Well, we got to come back next week. We'll talk some more. That's it, guys. Thanks for listening. The Rock Fights production, Rock Fight LLC for Justin Hausman. I'm Colin True. You know what? We both produced this episode. We don't have a producer today. Produced today by Justin Hausman and Colin True. Art direction, as always, provided by, though, Sarah Gensert. Thanks for listening. Here to take us out, it's Chris DeMakes. He's back again. He's going to sing the Rock Fight song. And we'll see you next time, Rock Fighters. Come back for Gear and Beer.
Rock fight.